Good afternoon, friends. Here's the traditional briefing about exposing the fakes and propaganda of the aggressor state. So, the new series is about as if the invading army has destroyed the weapons, namely the S-300 missile systems that Slovakia has given to Ukraine. This is done for the obvious purpose of stopping the military assistance that the civilized world provides us with. In order to demotivate our partners through such fake messages, firstly by saying, don't give them weapons, they will be destroyed anyway. Secondly, to send another message, if you give these weapons, with a high probability, they will end up in the hands of the Russian army, and thus you do not arm Ukraine, but Russia. This information about the destruction of the S-300 systems is a fake. Thus, this was directly stated by the Prime Minister of Slovakia, Eduard Heger, who wrote about it in his official Twitter. This was also denied by the head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak. And the source of this fake was directly the spokesperson of the Russian Defense Ministry, Konoshenkov, who holds his daily briefings, where he puts wishful thinking into reality and creates a picture required by Russian propaganda, as if the Russian army is victorious on the territory of Ukraine. Every day, everything happens according to the plan. Ukrainian weapons are destroyed according to the plan. The Ukrainian army is destroyed according to the plan once again. Although, if you count all that they have already announced as destroyed, they have probably already destroyed several armies of Ukraine and several armaments of Ukraine by that number. Of course, there is no face to liars. By the way, we see interesting changes in the rhetoric of Russian propaganda. Thus, the top propagandist Margarita Simonyan reposted the publication of her husband Tigran Keosayan, who in fact came out in two mouthpieces, saying that supposedly Ukraine does not have such a weak army. In fact, it was a big mistake of Russia to announce the capture of Kiev in a few days, etc. Maybe we planned to be in Kiev on the fifth day and it was a mistake, Keosayan writes. There's nothing wrong with admitting a mistake at all. We do not fight some rabble, says this Tigran. We fight against very motivated Nazis, who were trained for 8 years by all Europe and America. This is a feat of our fighters, he writes. Thus, I repeat, they create an argument for the internal Russian media market for their citizens. Why Russian soldiers were killed en masse and why no serious goals were achieved by the Russian aggressor on the territory of Ukraine. Well, thank them at least for the fact that they recognized the Ukrainian army as one of the strongest in the world. Although regarding the Nazis, they should pay attention to their own people, who can hardly even be called soldiers, who committed atrocities on the territory of the Kiev region. Meanwhile, Russia is trying to present itself as a victim. Once again, they show that poor Russians are being hurt all over Europe. Remember the vandalized monuments in Greece, Berlin, and now the same bad Ukrainians have attacked the Russian embassy in Rome, throwing red paint on the doors. It is highly probable that the Russians themselves did this to continue their technology. Being the aggressor on the territory of Ukraine, for the international community, for the Europeans who impose sanctions on them, they try to become victims of unfair treatment both from the Europeans and these terrible Ukrainian nationalists, who even in Europe are following them all around. Well, in order to create the illusion of change in the occupied territories, as if there is some support there, as if life is being arranged according to Russian standards, they spread information through their propaganda resources that supposedly in the occupied Melitopol they will celebrate May the 9th according to the Russian rules. The state traitor Helena Danilchenko, who has self-proclaimed herself as the leader of this city, writes about this even though there is a legitimate authority in the city which was eliminated by the occupants. Similarly, this Danilchenko said that schools, universities, colleges and everything are opening in Melitopol, as if life is turning back to normal. Russia is already there. This will not happen. Ukraine will definitely return control over Melitopol, and in Kherson they are trying to continue this line and hung the Russian flag all over the city. Over the Kherson Regional Administration and the Suvorov District Council hung their tricolors in order to demotivate the residents of Kherson to go out to protest and repulse the aggressor and occupier. Also in Kherson, the invaders destroyed the memorial of the Heavenly Hundred devoted to people killed during the Revolution of Dignity, and also destroyed the portraits of the heroes who died in a struggle for democracy in Ukraine. They announced that Heavenly Hundred Square has now become Freedom Square. Well, they raised the Russian flag there, thus trying to destroy everything connected with the Ukrainian national identity in this occupied city. Just like in Melitopol, control over Kherson will be returned, and everyone who cooperates with collaborators at the level of state power will be punished accordingly. I end this briefing with the traditional call not to believe the liars and propagandists from the aggressor country, but to trust the Ukrainian media, the Ukrainian armed forces and the Ukrainian political leadership. See you.
До зустрічі.